Hi. Let's see.
Hello.
I see that my camera is lagging. I'm going to stop my camera real quick and see if I could get that working again. Um, but while we're getting that figured out, today is a very special day in .NET book study world. We have an actual .NET book study member with us today who's going to be teaching us great, amazing things all about GraphQL. And I'm super excited to learn about it today. What do you think, Gabriel?
Yeah, I'm super excited to learn from Baja. He's been giving us a whole lot of helpful tips from the comment section for the past couple of series, but he's right
Yes.
here on the call with us today, and I'm super excited to hear from him. And it's very obvious we're actually looking at an actual Baja right here.
Thank you for mentioning that. Super cool. I am so happy to see something different. And yeah, this is going to be great fun. So, Badger, could you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself for us.
Well, I'm Badger. I got the nickname from the army, which is fun, and I just kind of stuck with it. So I became a software engineer, and because most of my stuff's locked behind NDAs and whatnot, I was like, I need to build a open source community,
Yeah,
and that's kind of what I'm doing. Trying to
that's awesome. How have you
build
been
it.
liking that?
It's a lot of fun. I like it. The .NET community has been pretty awesome. And that's kind of
That's
what makes me stick with it more. It's not just the language itself, but the community is great. In
yeah,
my opinion, the
yeah.
best of all the others.
Yeah, I agree too. I think it's the absolute best. And I'm happy to be a part of the community. I'm happy that we are all a community. And yeah, this is a great day for .NET book study, regardless of the technical difficulties. But yeah, so for today, we are going, like I said, to be discussing GraphQL. We're going to be learning from Badger. He's going to show us how to use it, what it's all about. But before we hop into that, I just want to share a little bit of upcoming events. Let's see if I can get this to the stream. So upcoming events in the .NET world. So the biggest event that we are expecting in the .NET world is .NET Conf 2022. It says celebrate and learn about what you can do with .NET 7 at our biggest .NET event, November 8th through the 10th. So we have featured speakers, Safia Abdallah, David Ortonau, and Daniel Robb. I hope I am pronouncing those names correctly. I look forward to the event. I spoke at last year's .NET Conf, so this will be really fun
Oh,
to
you
see.
did?
Like, yeah, I did. I gave a talk.
I didn't
That's
know about
awesome.
that.
I
Yeah,
didn't know that either.
I didn't know.
it's called Not Thinking Small: My Journey into
Oh,
Learning
wow.
.NET. So that was really fun. It was a very impactful experience for me, and it got me more comfortable with speaking on YouTube and in live stream. So a very valuable conference. Let me know if you guys plan on attending and what you think about it. I would love to hear from you about that. So now that that's out the way, Badger, I would love for you to give us a little bit of information on GraphQL.
I'm going to preface this with I'm not an expert in this. I just, kind of learned it recently, and I'm just kind of giving my lessons learned. All right?
And
Because
that's perfectly okay.
just saying.
Yeah, you don't need to be an expert. I feel like that kind of gets boring. So
So
varying perspectives are very important.
So I will say, when I first started out with GraphQL, I went down this rabbit hole. Like, what is it? I keep hearing this thing flung around. I'm like, I don't know what it is. And when I originally looked at it, it was someone who implemented it as like a database. And I was like, that doesn't sound right. And
Yeah,
just the whole idea of it being a database, it just kind of like rubbed me the wrong way. So I
yeah,
didn't look into it further. And then I found a YouTube video that I shared on our Discord, and I was like, this guy makes a lot of sense. So from a social media app perspective, so like I guess we can first dive into what we're gonna do here. So we're gonna go over what is GraphQL, why should I use it, and then how we can implement it. And there are some cool tools that we can use that help kind of automate or streamline the usage of it, which is fantastic. So what is GraphQL? It's basically an alternative to REST APIs. It's a layer that sits between your client and your server. It's kind of like this intermediate layer. So you're just basically exposing these endpoints that I can just do a bunch of GraphQL basic query stuff. But GraphQL, you explicitly define the data you want, and that's basically the problem that Facebook was solving, because Facebook realized that on their mobile devices, you have tons of data on the website. Like if we were to look at this, we have like the people on the top right are like, hey, these are people who have checked in at that location. We have these people who have reviewed it. I just grabbed this off of Google. I don't have Facebook anymore. Social media was a distraction I did not need.
Oh yeah, it can be a total distraction.
But like you have like all this data, and when you think about it, that is a ton. Like, so typically when you have an endpoint and you say I want this object back with this data, there's like a lot of throwaway data that you might have, and that's increasing the payload size. So if you're on a mobile device and you have a limited data plan, you're wasting however much data that you're tossing away, which doesn't make sense. So in GraphQL, you can be like, this is explicitly what I want. It's like a SQL query where you do a select statement, like these are the rows that I want, except it's done in GraphQL-ish language. But the idea is we can kind of aggregate all this data and be like, this is the data I want. And instead of being individual calls to the back end, we can kind of aggregate this, which what we can see. I don't know if this is the best practice, but I kind of noticed it. Was like, this is great. I'm just going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of data here. We can see we have reviewers, people who checked in, the location information, photos. Kind of narrowed it down to be like, all right, what is the data we want from this page? And yeah, so like it's explicitly what I want. I don't want any of this extra stuff. I don't want it. This is all I want.
Yeah.
And So the way I saw it, when I'm looking at the screen, I can see like, okay, give me the reviewers, give me who has visited, request for information. You can kind of consolidate that into like one request. Like I said, I don't know if this is the best practice, but this is what I've been doing in GraphQL, and it's been working wonders. So I can be like, here's all the data I want.
Basically, you're getting just the amount of information you need from the server, right?
Yeah, it's like, this is all I want. I don't want any more, any less. This is all I want. And,
so it's not a lot of back and forth. Is that right?
Yeah, at least that's how I've been doing it. It's been working great. It's been working great. Let me just say. Nice. I'm pretty sure I could have individual questions if I really wanted, but like from like, I don't know, it just works for my workflow right now. I'm sure later I'll find reasons to update individual things instead of the whole page. But
that makes sense.
Well,
so my question is like what and let me know if I'm understanding you clearly. So with something like Facebook, the fact that you can go onto like a page and there's so much information there, it's like you spend so much time doing the back and forth requests. It's probably easier to do a maybe like a one request like in this graph as well, and pull everything that you need within that one request, correct?
Yeah, that's kind of what I've kind of noticed. It also helps that you're explicitly defining the stuff you want. So if you were doing those individual requests, the payload's going to be smaller anyway.
Yeah.
So you could do it separately if you wanted. But I've noticed in GraphQL having like, hey, I have all these different components on my page. Like just load it up. It's been working pretty well, which we'll get into. So I found this library called Chili Cream. Or not the library. I guess it's the devs. They name their stuff weird, okay? but they're great. They're great. Their docs are great. Their tutorials are great. And instead of just me walking, I would literally walk through their stuff. But yeah, we have chili cream. The server side is called Hot Chocolate, and
Nice.
their front ends client for Blazor is called Strawberry Shake.
This is making me hungry. Hold up.
I know. I think he said his brother was in a Starbucks or something, and they were like just naming stuff.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's perfect.
I know. So I got a project that implements this because, like, instead of just sending you through the step-by-step guide, which would literally be from their website.
Yes.
Let's see. I actually have.
And we'll also link that link in our description box below as well, so we can have those resources for our viewers.
Yeah, I can stick the PowerPoint on the Discord as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you.
Badger, sorry to cut you short. So basically, is this stuff you mentioned, hot chocolate and chili cream, are they like frameworks, or what are they?
It's a library, so you can install it through NuGet, just like any other C# library. And they have excellent. I'm not kidding, man. Their guides are great. You can either do it through the CLI. They have step-by-step guides on how to do it through the CLI or Visual Studio, and on top of that, video tutorials on how to do it. And he explains it like this dude is just he needs to be MVP if he's not MVP.
Yeah.
But like, instead of wasting time just going through the motions here, but like you can see like a query. It looks kind of like it types into okay, how to word this. But you can see like we have our entity models, similar to how you would work with entity framework and whatnot. You have like these models. These are the data that we're going to grab from our database. It doesn't replace your database. So you're still going to use whatever database layer you got. And your query is very kind of simple. You say, hey, I have a class, which you would put in dependency injection. You would say, hey, GraphQL, I have this class that's going to be the queries. And it will just go through there and go, okay, you have a thing called getBook, and this is what it would end up returning. So like I said, you have like that query type here where you say, hey, that class called query, I have queries that are in there that I would like. Mm-hmm. It's very simple. Like, it's very straightforward. Map your GraphQL
I like that.
endpoint. Oh, yeah. And what's even better is they have a front
Banana
end.
cake pop.
I'm telling you, these people are hilarious and
they are hungry.
They were at Starbucks, I'm pretty sure. But what's great is that on the front end, so if I were to open up my writer project and I enter presentation mode, so it doesn't look like a tiny thing. Where is it at? Appearance, presentation mode.
Beautiful.
Nope, not bad. P. Where is my control? I am confused. Go to file. Oh, Control Alt L. It tells me right there I was in the wrong set of stuff. Anyhow,
super easy.
Let me run it. So I'm going to run my server so I can actually show you that banana cake pop. So it's like a front end user interface that kind of acts like SQL Server Management Studio. Mm-hmm. If you're familiar with that. So like if I were to go. Let me just copy that.
Yeah, I think Gabriel, you showed us that in the REST API series, right? The SQL Server Manager.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, cool.
But this looks like from what I'm seeing, it looks more like something related to Postman. If I'm correct.
Kind of, but so Banana Cake Pop will grab all that information that it knows about that you've exposed it to through GraphQL, and it'll say, hey, you have these queries, you got these mutations. It tells you the entire schema if you want. So like it generates all this as well. So like when I say, hey, client, I want you to talk to this GraphQL server, it will basically grab the schema from the server and pull it into your project. So that's basically what happened here. So I have this client and it pulls in the schema. There's like the whole commands on how to do that. But basically, when your server is running, you can say, hey, I have a GraphQL server, and it grabs this information for you. And then what I end up doing is sometimes if I don't want to run that command again, I'll just come into banana cake pop, schema definition, Control A, Control C, and then paste it in there just to update it. Because if when you have .NET Watch, I just like, But,
could you,
yeah.
Badger, could you explain like the benefits of pulling the schema into your project? Is there a reason for it?
So
Is it...
this schema, so when you have the schema on your project, what it does when the client is built, it has code or source generators that generates the C# code necessary to talk to the server. So everything that you're going to interact with to your server is basically generated through the schema. So having the schema here, it will basically know how to do the stuff. But I have to create GraphQL individual things. So like if I want to say, hey, I have a query that I would like, I want to call it, let me make this bigger. So like I have a query that I would like to call get topics with user info. I got some parameters. So it's like, hey, I have something called take. I have pagination in here, which is why I have these things called take and skip. So like, hey, my page size is maybe 10. I want to skip 5 items. So I get like so like you skip 5 records, like think of it like next page.
Yeah.
And then like, okay, I am this current user, or I want to grab it for this user. And then you just kind of pass it up the chain. So I have a section up there called topics. And I want to like take, and you just pass it down the chain. But anyhow, I want to show banana cake pop. Because this is how I made the stuff. That like to put it in here, I made it here, which is neat because it has so if you want to do a query in GraphQL, you start out with query. It looks very similar to JSON, which was a mind game for me because I was like, oh, I know JSON, and it's not quite JSON.
Okay.
So you start out by saying query, and this is just read-only stuff. You're not going to do anything fancy. It's just read-only. If you want to change something on the server, it's called a mutation, which makes sense because you have mutators. You have accessors and mutators, but in C#. But anyhow, I want to say a query, and it's like, all right, well, what do I want? And it has IntelliSense in here, which is just like
okay,
the chef's kiss. So it's like you have all these things that are available, and the way that I defined it is over here on my server.
Just to take you back a bit.
Yes.
So query, it's more like you're doing a read on your database.
Yeah, it's basically a select.
Like you're doing a post or a put, right?
Yeah, mutations basically. I don't know if post. Basically, a put, I guess, because put.
I can see it being an update.
Yeah, an update. An update's basically what mutation.
You're changing it, yeah.
Query is the equivalent of a select statement.
Okay.
But you can have like different queries in here. So like you can have multiple, like think of it as like multi queries inside of here.
Oh wow.
I know. We'll get into it.
Yeah, right.
So like
it is new.
On my server, I have let's say no, not that one. Topic queries. So all I did was I exposed this thing. So it takes that function name, and that's kind of where the whole get or topics. Hold on a minute. Why do you call it topics? I guess it's just getting the topics there. I can't remember that. Anyway, topics. Oh, I remember. Okay. I called it get topics up in here. No, I didn't. Topics. It's this. I'm just losing my marbles. It's fine.
It's cool. That usually happens with coding.
I have topics in here, and it'll autofill in here. Like I got items. So because this is paginated, and I have all this fancy stuff in here, I get a little bit of extra stuff. So like I want to know how many items I have total in the database. So it's like I know like do I have more items left, and I can say total count. If I can say like add page info. Do you have a next page? I keep doing the control space because that's how you bring up like the IntelliSense thing in Writer or in Visual Studio, and it doesn't work in here, which is driving me nuts. And then you have items, and this represents that data set that comes back, your result set. So then inside of here, I have all that information that's exposed to me in my queries. So if I come back over to my, where was it? Topic queries, there we go. So inside of my CodeJam topic, I have a bunch of stuff in here. I have my ID. It's entity framework. I'm telling you, it's just entity framework. The standard entity framework stuff. So I have like my background image URL, active. All these properties are exposed to me. And there's a use case for these CodeJam topics, because this is for something that I was trying to translate from Discord into an actual website. So the idea is, hey, users can register for a CodeJam. They can withdraw from a CodeJam. So like they might want to be on a team. They might want to do it solo. So the idea was, okay, now I need to grab more info. So if I would actually show you what this, hey, where's that? Let me just duplicate that tab and just go back a little bit. Coding. So that way, that way you know what I'm trying to show. So like,
cool.
I have my title when the CodeJam is accepting applicants, and I was testing stuff that there's a reason why this is ahead of when the actual jam is. But we have these 2 dates there. We got the description, and then notice here we have like the solo applicants, the team applicants, and we have like numbers here. So notice how this is not part of our class. Like we don't have that available inside of our entity framework model, if you will. So how do we get that data in there? Because it's included in GraphQL. So it's like, how did I do the thing? And I feel like you had a question.
Oh, I was going to ask, what exactly is a CodeJam? This is my first time hearing about CodeJam.
So the idea of a CodeJam for like Python simplified was inspired by game jams, because like we were like, hey, we want to have like some sort of topic that we hand to our developers and say, I don't know, it can be like make a something that has to do with healthcare or audio. Sound and audio was our last one. Before that, what was it? I think the first one we did wasn't exactly tame. It was just kind of a fend for yourself sort of thing.
Yeah.
But the idea is like you have a certain amount of time, and then at the end of that time, you submit your app, and it competes with the other people. And there's like a vote, and who wins the CodeJam, you get prizes if we have prizes.
Oh, wow.
Available. But that's the idea of the CodeJam.
Yeah, so it's like almost like a competition.
Yeah, it's a friendly competition.
Yeah, and, that's awesome.
Our take on it was we want to have
like a boost camp.
Yeah, we were trying to make it so like developers of different levels of experience could help each other. So we would try to put someone with experience with a couple people with less experience to kind of help guide the mentorship. But we've noticed it's kind of like herding cats. But I'm sure we'll find a way to make the CodeJams less cat herdy like.
Okay.
But the whole idea of doing it from Discord is trying to put it into like a UI that streamlines the whole thing.
Yeah. That's so different, but that's awesome.
But yeah, that's the CodeJam stuff. So then the idea here is we want to have solo applicants. We want to get this information so we could tell that on our front end. And as we saw, we don't have that info available here in our model. So to make this available, we have an extension that you can do in GraphQL. So in GraphQL, if I want to add information to a specific type, it's called an extension. So if I go into my little extension class here, we say, hey, this extension is extending the CodeJam topic. Cool beans. So now everything that's inside of here, I can say, hey, that has dependency injection pipeline in here. So it's familiar to us C# at ASP.NET. So I can say, hey, this is my parent. So this parent attribute says, if you're thinking of it as a, what's the word? So think of it as I'm already inside something that has a topic, right? And then that topic is my parent, if that makes sense. So like, as I'm in here, I have like my title, my description, and all that stuff. And if I say team applicants, that like one record is considered the parent, so I can. Does that make sense at all? Like the.
I'm
So
trying to
team
follow. It's
applicants,
just different information for me. So
yeah. So are you saying like topics like parents to team applicants and all of the other properties underneath them?
Yeah. So like because like total applicants is extending that object of CodeJam topic, it basically sends you the current object that it's what's the word? Querying from your
Inheriting from?
database. Yeah, inheriting from is is the first part, and then the second part is like think of it as like I'm grabbing more information from this one object. So like, okay, I want to grab more information about this parent or this one object, and then I have like for in this case, I want to count the total applicants just in general. So I can grab from my my registrations table, I can be like, hey, count the number of people with this CodeJam topic from the parent that haven't abandoned it, and that's it. Or for here, it'd be like, hey, count the number of applicants who want to be on a team. Kind of the same thing. Hey, got my registration table, count the number of people for that one, the ID of this who haven't abandoned it, prefer the team. Here's my cancellation token, because you gotta pass that token around.
Yeah. So with my understanding, it seems like it's best to look at parent as an object, right? Yeah, like a block of information.
Yeah, like the way I kind of thought about it was like, okay, the parent is technically the thing I'm extending, and I'm trying to grab more information about. Like, okay, I have this data, like is registered or all the stuff that I want to do. I want to extend that parent object, and like so when I say, hey, CodeJam topic dot. And I can be like, oh, I have team applicants now available to me. Like, how do I do that? It's almost like a C# extension, but not quite the whole extension. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah, I haven't dealt with extensions before, but I feel like this is like a nice intro to extensions.
It's not quite. It's like it's extension-ish.
Okay.
The only word thing it's missing is the word "this" in front of it.
Oh.
That's how you get it to be like, hey, I can actually have a C# project. And here's my new method.
Yeah.
But yeah, this entire class is just dedicated to adding these new functions, if you will, to my object that I can expose to GraphQL. So you'll notice, where's the name? Like team applicants is that property name that shows up in here. Team applicants. There you go. And then like it's registered, all that stuff is shown here.
And it's being reflected in the schema.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, exactly. So like the name of this function here is the one that shows up inside of the schema, which is pretty awesome. And if you have any parameters that are needed, I think you could just do that. Yeah, so like in here I have like a user ID that's required for is registered. I don't know who's registered if I don't have an ID, right?
Yeah.
So if
you grab the ID,
that, you would need to, and you see like the IntelliSense in here pops up. I'm telling you, banana cake pop is the best thing. It's since sliced bread. I can't.
Nice.
Words are hard. Okay.
It's Friday.
It's Friday. Everyone needs a nap. But yeah, it's pretty neat. So like, if I were to actually run this, like. You can see like team applicants, and I grabbed 10 records by default, but like I don't know a lot in here. There's not a lot of data in here because I didn't really didn't specify it. But notice it's the only data that comes back. So now that I added team applicants and title, I can see it over here on the right side. So the more I add, the more data I get back.
And this is the banana cake pop, right?
Yeah, so the thing that you're seeing on screen right now is called Banana Cake Pop, as noted by the banana up here that has the little winky face when you highlight it. I'm telling you, these people are great.
Very interesting.
This made learning GraphQL pretty fun, and I also like having this interface available to me. Now, the question that I have yet to figure out is how do I make it so this doesn't show up to my end users?
Oh. Okay.
So it does have authorization.
Sorry, I didn't get the question. What was the question?
So the question I have to figure out is how do I make it so this isn't available to my end users so they can't just, come to my GraphQL banana cake pop thing and query all the things.
Yeah.
So I have to figure that out. But it does have authorization support, which is pretty cool. So if I want to say, hey, certain things require you to be authenticated, I can just slap on the ASP.NET authorize attribute, and then boom, you have to be required to be logged in to hit this endpoint. Or for mutations, I have all right, the same stuff works. Like you have to have these roles or this policy, which is probably what I should do instead of saying blah, blah, blah. Probably wouldn't make sense to use the thingy there. But yeah, so like the ASP.NET. The what?
Does that do the trick? Adding the authorized attribute, does that stop other users from just accessing the interface?
So I have to test it out per se because I want to make sure that as a user, if I'm on the client and I'm like just a standard user, I don't want to block the GraphQL thing, if that makes sense. Like the client should still be able to talk to the server. I have to figure that out. Like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm just, doing the thing.
Yeah.
Just learning. I'm just learning.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure there's if I follow more tutorials, because the cool thing that they came out with that I'm using the preview version, but it generates Blazor code for you, so you can do the Blazor code for GraphQL. So like, I haven't done it because there's something that I didn't like about it. Well, I wanted pagination in a way that, so like pagination in their sense seems to be like if I have 100 records that came back from the server, I can paginate those 100 records on the client. But in my case, it's like I only want to grab what I need. So if I grab 10 records or 50 records, I want to be able to like show that on my client and then be like, okay, if I only wanted like 100 records, I could, like the pagination should be like, oh, if I hit next, grab the next 100 records, not like, oh, here's 100 records and you're paginating those 100 records by like 5, 10, 25.
So you want it to get just the exact amount of records that you need from the database and not just get every record and then paginate on the front end. Yeah?
Yeah, pretty much. Okay. So if I show you, so like in this case, I have, 5? So I have 10 records in the database and I got 5 back. So when I hit this, I want to say, grab the next 5 records from the database and come back or something like that. That like, I'm pretty sure there's
something specific, more specific.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm the weirdo. I'm pretty sure I'm the
One
weirdo.
never knows.
I'll admit I'm weird, but like this did send me down a rabbit hole of learning generic types with Blazor. But
okay.
I know that sent me down another rabbit hole. I tell you,
it will take you down a rabbit hole. Yeah, that's why it's okay to not know everything.
So by me being like, I don't like your pagination, and then I went down another rabbit hole of like, how do I make this generic enough so I can reuse the pagination? But anyhow, this uses the mutation stuff.
Just to confirm, so when you move to the next 5 records, do you make a call to the database? Or
Yes. So, not the database. Technically, it calls GraphQL, and then GraphQL does the translation to the database. So if I do this, you can see down there, it does the stuff. It's got the stuff. So when I hit this, it translates the GraphQL equivalent stuff into the entity framework stuff,
commands,
propagates it down. So it looks like I am calling the database, but I'm calling GraphQL, and then
GraphQL.
whatever I have on the back end that talks to my GraphQL or responds to GraphQL,
that does the magic.
It does the magic there.
Okay.
I'm not actually talking to my server per se. I'm talking to GraphQL.
Oh wow. Okay. So with Banana Cake Pop, and maybe this can be like a reflection, just to make sure that I'm picking up the major points, the major keys. So Banana Cake Pop is an SQL manager, and
kind of. If you're familiar with SQL Server Management Studio or
SQL,
other like UIs that for your database, like MongoDB has Mongo Compass, I think.
Okay.
But yeah, this is just an interface.
Okay. To where you can view the schema of your GraphQL, right?
Yes.
Nice. Okay. And I remember Gabriel saying that it looks similar to Postman. So I'm just making notes. It helps me contextualize it better. So
and like I said, they have like tutorials. Like I don't want to steal the thunder because their tutorials are like top notch for me. Like
I'm sure, yeah.
But I have the references that I'll share.
Okay.
But they're videos. If y'all want to dive into this, it is pretty solid.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like these are queries, and if you want to do modifications where you're like, hey, I want to make, that post request, if you will, the update stuff, it's just it's just by slapping that word mutation. And then you'll see.
So if you wish to persist to the database, you also use mutation for that?
So what about persistent database and mutation?
Like making a post request. Like if it was a REST API, if you're trying to make a post request to add a record to the database, if you want to do that with GraphQL, do you use mutation also?
Yes. So like if you're inserting a record, so query is read only. You're just grabbing information and sending it back to the user. But if you're doing like insert stuff, update stuff, delete stuff, that's all through a mutation. Because you got to think, if I'm adding a record, I'm changing something on the back end, right? I'm adding something. So that's how I related it.
Nice. Yeah.
And then again, IntelliSense pops up with all the various things that I have available.
Yeah.
For the thing. And I did notice that because I'm logged in as the admin, I have all the rights and doohickeys to doing all the things.
That's nice.
Which is cool.
So,
but
I was gonna say, could we take a look at just what is the basic GraphQL block of code, like when we're creating a new GraphQL project, whatever.
Oh,
what is the very basic? Just so I have some.
That's fair. That's fair. So if you're from a server perspective or the client perspective?
I guess from the VS Code perspective.
I think that would be from the server perspective.
Okay. Well, I mean, you can create the client there too. But so if you got your setup, okay, so you're probably doing it for the CLI because you don't have that fancy project new.
Nice. Okay.
Like I said, the tutorials are great. But we have the .NET new. You got your web. So that's your simple web project. Then you add hot chocolate.
Okay. And I've heard of hot chocolate before, so.
Right? Yeah. Now you know it has nothing to do with hot chocolate.
Maybe we can drink hot chocolate while we're using it. So
I mean, it is that time of year that hot chocolate's about it's refreshing.
Yes.
So then you define the types that you want to work with, and it doesn't necessarily have to be your EF models. It could be whatever you want. So you have a class. They have book and author as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Very simple. Very
You can
simple.
add an ID just in case
Yep.
if needed. Yeah.
You can add that ID if you want, and you can say, all right, now I'm going to have a class that's going to represent my queries. And then you'd be like, all right, I have a thing called get book. So when I call that, I should get a new book back, right?
Yeah.
So standard there. Yeah. It has no
Get
entity
book.
framework or anything because they're no opinionated stuff here. Pretty cool.
So like no like database context, like making an instance of like the context and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You wanted bare bones. Which I do like that it's not opinionated. I do like how it's not opinionated, so it's bare bones.
Yeah.
Like you don't need anything. But if you did have anything, whether it's a service, whatever you want, there's dependency injection support. So if you want to grab your DB context, you just slap on that attribute service, which follows that whole minimal API model where you have like that method that has all the things. Okay. So if you just slap in, like I did, queries. So like right here, I have like my service, my application DB context. So if you want that available, whatever is in DI, you just slap it in there with the service tag, and boom, you're off to the races. If you want it,
yeah, only if you want it.
Only if you want it. and then in your program CS or your startup, whatever you call it, your extension method, as long as you add it into the DI pipeline, which is here, you say, I want to add that server, and here's my query type. You have to actually say, this is my query.
Okay.
If you don't add this, it's not going to magically go, hey, I know that's my query class.
Yeah.
So by saying, here's that class, there you go.
Add the
so
service.
that's like add query types more like adding it to the DI container. Like if you're probably building a REST API, you're doing build other services dot add scopes and then your services, right? So that's probably the same thing you're doing here.
Yeah, I think I'm not quite sure what this does behind the scenes per se, but this makes it so that query is exposed into your GraphQL server. So like whatever's in here becomes, so when you do that query in Banana Cake Pop, it pops up with, hey, get book or whatever, which we'll see. Yeah. And the client probably. But yeah, so that's our services that you defined. And then to map that, it's as simple as saying map GraphQL, which is pretty simple. And then you just you run your app.
.NET run and you're good to go.
I know, you're done. It's simple. I didn't want
very simple.
I felt like I didn't want to do it like for realsies because I didn't want to steal their thunder.
Yeah.
Maybe I should have. In hindsight, maybe I should have, but like I don't want to steal the thunder.
It's still a great conversation. So yeah, it looks very simple. I like this.
I know, right? It's just they did a great job at documenting the stuff. I like it. But yeah, there's that Banana Cake Pop. So by adding that GraphQL here, you're also exposing that GraphQL endpoint with Banana Cake Pop. So when you open it, you'll see it for the first time. It pops up with connection settings, and then there you go. You get the very bare bones stuff here, and then you don't have to explain. I think if you don't define the word query, it automatically assumes it's a query.
Okay.
So in this case, they're like, all right, I want to get a book, and then with title, and then an author. So when he does that, you get this data back. Yeah, it's a little small. I feel like that didn't make it any bigger. I feel like
very minimal. No.
I zoomed in. I'm like, I feel like that just made my screen blow up more than I wanted. Oh.
Like, oh wow.
I was like, very minimal. But either way, you see on the right side, you have a JSON-ish form. I mean, I guess that is JSON on the right. But on the left side, it's not JSON. It takes a while to get used to not adding the colon in places.
Yeah.
I will admit that's going to be hard to. Like, you're going to slap yourself every time you put a colon. It will tell you that it's wrong, which is why I like Banana Cake Pop, because it tells you your syntax messed up. Which is how I learned GraphQL by Banana Cake Pop telling me you're wrong.
Yeah.
But it does generate that schema. So when you go to your schema definition, it goes, hey, I have query. So it looks in that query class you define and says, oh, I have a book. That exclamation mark means it's required. All right, it means it's not nullable.
So, my question is does like a GraphQL project ever interact with Swagger or no? Because it's not like a REST API.
That's a good question. I don't think it does. I want to say it's separate. I mean, in a way, it makes sense that it's separate.
Yeah.
Because you have it's almost like Swagger for your GraphQL. If that makes sense, because I can go from here. I can add descriptions if I want, which I haven't done. I'm a monster. I'm an animal. I mean, I'm a badger. I have an excuse. I'm an animal.
Literally.
But yeah, we have like you can add description in here, and it's gonna look very Swagger-ish. I guess you could say it's got some swag.
Yeah.
But yeah, you could start adding descriptions to stuff if you really wanted, and turn this into a proper Swagger-ish stuff.
Nice.
But no, not that. This. There you go. So yeah. Additional resources. That's pretty much it to get started, and then
yeah, it's very simple.
I know because the way they did it.
They broke it down.
They broke it down Barney style. But let's see. So like there's like this thing called like resolvers. If I'm not this. All right, is this what I'm thinking of? I want to make sure I'm not sending people down rabbit holes. I don't think this is what I'm thinking of because it doesn't have the word parent in here. I don't know what it was called. Oh yeah, it is. So the whole parent thing.
Yeah, I want to look more into that too.
So that whole extension thing I went down was I guess called a resolver, where I say here I want to have this attribute, if you will, this property that fetches some sort of data.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so this makes it a bit confusing. Can we go back there a bit? Can we go back there for a second? Yeah. So if you're inheriting from user and then you're inside of user, doesn't it make that like a continuous loop of I don't know?
It does. It does. This is what confused me. So this is what when I was trying to figure out how to add that data, I was like, this is confusing as heck. I don't want this. And that's somewhere in here, I swear. They have something called an extension. And that's when I went down the rabbit hole. Extended types. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
So the extended types, this made more sense to me, and I like this approach way better. So you have like your object type of book that has the standard stuff, and without modifying that, you can say, "Hey, extend the type book," and then you can say get genres in there, and then all you have to do is remember to say, "Hey, add that type extension to the dependency injection pipeline," and then you should be good to. What is this stuff down here? Adding fields. It's the same information written twice. Oh.
You're like, wait a minute.
Wait a second. Oh, they just called it something different. Okay. Interesting. Okay.
I feel like. What were you going to say?
It is the same. It's just written slightly different. And then they also show you the different ways of doing it, annotation based, which I kind of call this an attribute based.
Yeah.
They used a Java term. I feel cheated.
I feel dirty.
I feel dirty now. Oh no! Why'd you do this to me? Chili cream. Then you have the code first approach, schema first, but like I use, I guess, annotation based. Yeah. But replacement fields. Let's see what. Yeah, you can ignore properties. Interesting. Extended by name. I don't want to do that. I don't want anything to do with raw strings like that. Nope. No sirree, Bob. But yeah, they go over different ways you can extend types. I did the first one where I just go, hey, oh no, that's not the first one. This one. This one. Write the thing you want to add to that type without modifying the class itself. So when you're in GraphQL, now you'll see whenever you query a book, you get the word genres. Probably, I want to say it gets rid of the get, kind of like how an ASP.NET where you have like home controller. When it's /home because it slaps the controller off the word, it just gets rid of it. I want to say, don't quote me on it, that it just gets rid of the word get. It understands that get genres. It's just going to get rid of the word get and say genres. I feel like that's what it does.
I feel like I'm going to have to do like further research on what exactly extensions are.
Yeah,
it might take me some time to learn.
I mean, I can write one.
I think if you pick a tutorial, probably a YouTube video or something, or probably one of those videos from the documentation, it might help. Yeah, I would also do that myself. Maybe use build a project with it and see what I can come up with.
Honestly, it would be a great topic for a new stream.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
They're actually kind of cool. So if I notice how I have a sample class with one property, if you want to write an extension, it has to be a static class, and the name doesn't matter, but the method does. So like if I want to say, all right, what do I want to do about it? Maybe, what do you want from it?
Oh,
I don't know. I don't know. It could just be whatever you want. It could be a string uppercase name. I don't know. This is an example. So inside of here, I say this, and then whatever object type. So whatever object type I want to extend. If I want it to appear on all objects, I can use this C# basic object, and it's any object in C#. I'm going to see this thing called uppercase name, which I don't know. That's not what we want. We want to say sample. So now I'm saying, hey, I'm extending sample class.
Okay.
And then it's a parameter name, like always. So I could be like, I could call it OBJ, whatever I want.
Okay.
And then since all I want to do is return the uppercase, I can say, hey, return the name to upper. I mean, that's not obviously safe, but now if I say, I'm just going to, no, that's not why that was ridiculous individual. It's in C++. To go away. I don't mind the names, all right? I'm just trying to keep it on the same screen. But
I think I'm getting a little.
Bar sample, OBJ continues sample. There you go. So now if I say sample OBJ, as soon as I hit the dot, you're going to see this uppercase name as a method. So it's still sample. I can still say sample obj.name. I mean, obviously, I need to use it, do something with it, but
you probably have to put a value in it.
Yeah, I got to store it somewhere. But like you can see, like it still exists as a property.
Yeah.
But anything that I add as an extension is going to show up whenever I'm working with that sample class.
Okay.
So that's basically what the extensions are.
Yeah. So the way I'm understanding it is that you're taking like a class or like a model or a property and you're manipulating that information, right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, pretty much. So when you think about it, a lot of people extend entity framework stuff through like the dependency injection pipeline that are projects. They'll have like let's actually go into, I guess, program.cs. So like, have you ever downloaded a NuGet package and it's like, you'll notice that package has its own way of adding services. Like you could be like builder services and then add it, like, let's say it's Discord or something. And then you'd be like, okay, I can add. All right. This is a good example. What do I have installed right now? That's the package that does it. But you'll notice like these are all like extension methods. These are all different things. So MudBlazer, that's a good example. MudBlazer. The MudBlazer has all these things that I can add, and it's like, how are they doing that? Because clearly Microsoft's assembly, they ship it. They don't have direct access to the thing. How are they adding all these methods to this class that they don't have? Like it didn't come from them. How do they do the thing? they did it through extension methods. So they wrote an extension method in their NuGet package or in their library that extended the object of whatever it's called, iService collection, and then they do their thing that they want to do with iService collection, and then they make it super easy to say add Mudblazer services, whatever. So like,
Oh wow.
we open that. Thank you, JetBrains, for this amazing IDE that can decompile stuff on the fly. But you can see like like you can see has the exact same format. They say, hey, we want to extend the iService collection called services, and they just do their thing. They add all the things Mudblazer that they want to that, and they return it, and that's all we got to do. That's how you can extend things that don't belong to you, if you will. Like that.
You just take it.
It's not mine, but I want to add. Yeah, basically, it's like it's not mine, but it's like, man, if only I had the ability to go dot on that thing and do whatever I want with it. That's how you can do it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Awesome. I'm learning so much.
I can be useful at times.
Yes, of course. You're always. Yeah, you're amazing. I'm so happy that you are sharing your knowledge with us. I feel like that's what I love so much about .NET Book Study. Is just that, you know, we don't have to be experts. We can be beginners or almost close to experts or anything in between. And we're still like having conversations. Like, coding doesn't start when you know it all. That's why it's like you can never really know it all. So
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's what makes
There's always something more to learn.
Exactly. Exactly.
As soon as you feel you know it all, I feel like you're at a point that, like, what is the word? Ignorant at that point? Like there's always things to learn.
Stagnant?
Like, yeah. You're probably just too complacent or comfortable where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
As soon as you're too comfy, you gotta go challenge yourself with something.
Mix it up somehow, some way.
That's my opinion.
Yeah.
and if you don't challenge yourself, someone else will.
Ooh.
Oh yeah, I will say, like, I originally got into the open source stuff mostly because the university I was attending, still am, like, I felt like there was students weren't getting as much out of it as they wanted, because, you know, like, colleges take forever to update their courses. It's really behind. They're not always going to be using like stuff that's recent in like 5 years. Sometimes it's like a decade behind or super far behind.
That sounds.
But
yeah,
I know it sucks. Or you get those like what are they called? The professors that rotate, like they're not permanent there. They're not full timers. They just rotate.
I think it's just with a T.
I thought it was adjunct or something. I'm not sure. But you get those professors that rotate around, and sometimes you just get that professor that doesn't care and they don't teach. So like I got into the whole Discord stuff to kind of help like mentor people, and then I got into building Discord bots, and I was like, man, I know what I'm doing. And then I had like that mentality of like, I know what I'm doing. And then I started learning a lot more. And I was like, wow, I know nothing. I know absolutely nothing.
Yes.
And then I started challenging myself. And then even though the community, it's like herding cats to do things, you realize like, even if nobody uses it, I learned like a plethora of knowledge just by building something for others to use.
Exactly. No, that makes perfect sense. Even for me, like I am taking a beginner's course for C# just because it's like when you learn so many like different things, like you kind of start to forget the basics. So at least for me to like stay on my toes, like, and I'm gonna do that after this stream too. Is like maybe study for an hour, but yeah. I feel like it's always good to mix it up. You don't have to be an expert. It can be boring being an expert, I think.
Oh, for sure.
No disrespect.
Oh, no, I'm not. I don't consider myself an expert. I didn't write the .NET language.
Yeah.
When people are saying, like, are you an expert at C#? And I'll be like, I can't say I'm a 10 out of 10 C# dev because I'm not on the C# team. I'm not the team that wrote the thing, so I can't claim to be an expert.
Yeah. So where can people find you, Badger, if they want to like reach out to you, if they have any questions, like if they just want to talk to you, like where can they find you at?
Mostly Discord. I don't really use social media that much.
Yeah.
It's a distraction. But like Discord, so they can join our Discord, and I'm always in there.
.NET Book Study.
.NET Book Study. That's where to find me.
Yep. Oh, okay. Awesome. And then for you, do you have any final words before we? Because it seems like I think we're like 5 minutes over the hour, but
and we did start kind of late though.
Yeah, we did.
But I would say give Chili Cream a shout out. Like there's pretty cool devs doing great things. Like I say go to them, go learn how to do GraphQL. Then this is a pretty solid library to go use.
Yeah.
They get the Badger thumbs up.
Yeah. And like I said before, I will add that URL to our description box so we can have all of our references together if anybody has any questions or anything like that. But yeah, thank you so much, Badger. Gabriel, do you have like a place where people can reach out to you?
Yeah, you could reach out to me in the Discord channel, like Badger mentioned. Yeah, I'm there. You could reach out to me there. You could also reach out to me on Twitter. My handle is right there on the screen. Yeah, _CODEASE.
Awesome.
And I love that Badger is dancing.
Oh, sorry. I just do the thing where I'm like moving around and it tracks my camera.
That's so nice. I love it. It's fun. I love it. But yeah, and if you have any questions for me, anybody, you can just reach out to me. Yeah, in the .NET Book Study server. Shout out to the server. And then also elahn.codes.com. That's my website. But yeah, again, thank you so much, Badger, for showing us all the fun ins and outs of GraphQL. And thank you all for watching. It was awesome. I am going to play some new fun outro music. So yeah.